It's time to put our inventor caps on. Hi everyone, my name's Jake. Welcome to the Kitchen Scrap, where I'm currently challenging myself to learn to survive on British World War II rations for an entire year.
I think it's a ridiculous idea.
I suspect that today is going to be a weird one. Now, the other day, someone by the name of Pink Lick Pony commented on a video and said that they had just made their own version of Lord Woolton Pie and that they'd found half a tin of baked beans laying around in the fridge, so they just whacked it in. And I thought that was genius. I never would have thought to put baked beans in a pie, but that got me thinking, is there such a thing as baked bean pie? And what would that be like? So I looked it up, and there are in fact a small handful of recipes for baked bean pie floating around out there, but I want to make my own version, so basically we're just going to wing it. Now, I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but there's only one way to find out, right? So thank you to Pink Lick Pony for inspiring the idea, because you've also helped me solve a bit of a first world problem that I'm experiencing right now. So while I've been living on the ration, I've been allocating myself 20 points per month to put towards purchasing store-covered ingredients. Now, the average was 24 points per month per person. The lowest it ever was 16 per month. So I've kind of just gone in the middle, and I found that 20 points is enough for me. So to get one tin of baked beans would cost you 4 points. So once a month, I've been getting one tin of baked beans. Now, one day back in March, I was in Aldi and I came across these baked beans right here. They're oh so natural organic baked beans in tomato sauce. Now, I've never tried this brand before, but it was 3 for $3. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to get them, and then I'm covered for March, April, and May. So herein lies the problem. In my humble opinion, they are the worst baked beans I have ever tasted. I'm sorry, it's just how I feel.
I am sorry!
Now, I am somewhat of a baked bean connoisseur. If you spoke to any of my family and friends, they would confirm that I practically lived on baked beans and cheese on toast for a bulk of my 20s. Anyways, I had one of these tins a few weeks ago, and I honestly couldn't even finish the meal. That's how much they sucked. I tried to rescue it with more seasoning. Nothing could be done. So I'm still left with these two tins. This was supposed to be April, this was supposed to be May. But I think we can make these delicious by creating a baked bean pie. Now, I did want a pastry base. I made those a little bit earlier in the evening. I just used the same wholemeal pastry recipe from Marguerite Patton's Feeding the Nation. I've made that pastry twice already on this channel, so I'll spare you the details of going through it again, but if you are interested, I'll link the two videos down below. Because my pie dishes are quite shallow, I suspected I would end up with excess filling, so I thought I may as well go ahead and make 2 pies. And that pastry recipe was enough to make 2 pie crusts. Now, they are quite thin, but it'll do. I blind baked them in the oven for about 15 minutes, and then I turned the oven off and just let them rest. We're going to top these pies with mashed potato, and I definitely saved the potato skins and stored them in some vinegar because I really want to make some crispy salt and vinegar potato skin chips at some stage. So, let's get cooking. As for the other ingredients, we have a leek, we have about 12 ounces of mushrooms. I'm very much looking forward to eating these. I haven't had mushrooms in what feels like ages. And because I didn't have any cheese last week, I'm using last week's ration and this week's for this pie. So this is 4 ounces of cheese. You're entitled to 2 ounces every week. So we've got our 2 tins of baked beans here. We're going to put in a dash of Worcester, and then we've just got some basic seasonings like salt, pepper, and I thought maybe just a little bit of rosemary and thyme. I don't know. And then we've got all of our mashed potato here, which I painstakingly pushed through a sieve because I want it as smooth as possible. So I'm just going to get the rest of these ingredients prepped and we'll see how we get on. All right, so I'm just heating up some oil in the pan and I'm just going to chuck the leeks in. Next, I'm just going to chuck in the mushrooms, try and cook some of the water out of them. I have a feeling I'm still going to have too much filling for these 2 pies. We'll see. Okay, so these have been cooking down for about 5 minutes. So now we're going to add the baked beans. It's quite a lot. So we're just going to start adding some seasonings now. So we'll start with the salt, pepper, and some Worcester. Help give it that umami flavor. This smells really, really good. Even though the beans are already cooked, I do want to keep it on the heat a bit longer to help reduce some of that sauce. I've decided not to add rosemary. I'm just going to put in a little bit of thyme. Just the faintest hint. We need to taste test this. Get a bit of everything. That's really yummy. Definitely don't need any more thyme. Even though I only put the tiniest amount in, it is quite prominent already. I am just going to add a little bit more Worcester. And a little bit more salt and pepper. Let's just give this another taste test. Alright, that's good. The seasoning's on point now. So I'm just going to turn down the heat, let this reduce a little bit more while I do some dishes. Okay, so I ended up cooking this down for a further 10-15 minutes. I wish you could smell my apartment right now. So the sauce is definitely reduced enough now, so we're going to whack them in our pie shells. Alright, so we're just going to start spooning this in. I think this is going to be the perfect amount for 2 pies. Just even that out a little bit. That was the perfect amount. Excellent. Now we're going to sprinkle some cheese. This is actually a lot of cheese, 4 ounces. May have been too much. What are you saying, Jake? There's no such thing as too much cheese. Now we need to put on the mashed potato topping. Now the mashed potato has just been very lightly seasoned with some salt and pepper. I could just slather this on top, but I thought, why not try piping it instead? However, I'm already second guessing that because the nozzle is quite small and the mashed potato is very thick, so it is quite difficult to pipe. This is gonna take a while. Let's just give it a go, see what happens. The things you do for YouTube. Okay, done. It'll do. So I do have a little bit of mashed potato left, probably about 2 potatoes worth. So I think 2.5 pounds of potatoes would suit this dish fine, but this won't go to waste. We'll figure out a way to use it. All right, I'm gonna whack these pies in the oven for, I don't know, 20-30 minutes. Because the crust is so thin, it won't take that long and everything else is already cooked. We're essentially just heating it through and hopefully we might be able to crisp up that potato topping. All right, I just pulled these out of the oven. I baked them at 180 for about 30 minutes. The tops have gotten a little bit crispy. I'm just going to let these rest for a little bit before I cut into it and we can do a taste test. I think these turned out pretty well. All right, it's time to cut into this baby. Who am I kidding? I'm having a huge slice. First slice is always so hard to get out. That looks alright. Smells good. Let's taste it. Okay, so we've got a bit of everything. We've got the pastry, the baked bean filling, bit of cheese, and the potato topping. Let's give this a go. That is so yum. Literally cannot stop eating it. It's seasoned perfectly. The Worcester and the cheese really help to give it that nice umami flavor. Because the crust was so thin, it's really crunchy, which works perfectly for this because the filling and the topping are quite soft. Baked bean pie, guys, get on it. Now, I didn't film it, but I actually have a veggie soup as well to accompany this. It was basically just one of those, clean out the fridge, chuck everything into a pot with some stock, and away you go. Cabbage, carrots, turnips, potatoes, put some lentils in there. It's really, really good, but I'm so happy that I now have these baked bean pies. So I'm gonna go finish my dinner. It's that time again and we need to make something sweet. Now, I don't know if this is because of my European heritage or not, but most members of my family, including myself, love all things sour and pickled. And we're especially fond of vinegar. Now, it was my brother's birthday recently and I've never met anyone that likes vinegar quite as much as he does, and that's saying something coming from my family. So to honor the occasion, I thought we should make a vinegar cake. Now, once again, this recipe is coming from
Marguerite Patton's Feeding the Nation.
Now, it is a bit of a ration buster, but we're gonna go for it. For this recipe, you will need 6 ounces of self-raising flour, 3 ounces of margarine. That's almost my entire weekly allowance of margarine just on this one cake. 3 ounces of sugar, 1/4 of a pint of milk, which is about 142 mils, 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I actually thought it would have more than that. 1/2 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, and 3 to 4 ounces of mixed fruit. I don't have any sultanas or currants or anything, but I did have some pitted dates in my pantry. Now, a pound of these would have cost me 8 points. Now, this is 500 grams. Technically, a pound is 453 grams, so I'm 47 grams over. I was curious though, I measured out 47 grams worth of dates and it works out to be 6 dates. So I'm 6 dates over the limit. Don't send me to ration jail, okay? So factor in that this cost 8 points and I've already used 8 points on 2 cans of baked beans. I've already used 16 points for the month of April. I've got 4 left. It'll be fine. So whenever I'm using any kind of dried fruit in baking, I like to soak it in boiling water first. I just find it really helps to plump them up and keep them nice and moist throughout the baking process. I highly recommend it. But once you drain it, make sure you reserve the liquid because it is quite sweet, so you can use it in a variety of applications. I typically just drink it as a type of tea/cordial, and it's quite delicious. Anyways, let's get cooking. So I've already got all the ingredients ready. I've already sifted the flour, and next we have to cream together the margarine and the sugar. I'm just going to use a fork. Next it says to pour the milk into a large basin, add the vinegar and bicarbonate of soda. The mixture will rise and froth in the basin. So I'm just going to chuck in the milk and a tablespoon of vinegar, half a teaspoon of bicarb. Just going to whisk this together. To be honest, I thought it would be much more spectacular than that. It frothed up a little bit, but not as much as I was expecting. All right, next it says to blend the flour into this mixture here.
Then you blend and blend and blend. Blending is the secret.
I'm just going to kind of add it in gradually. Gosh, that's become quite thick. Too thick for my little whisk here. Just going to beat that flour in. Then we're going to add the creamed butter and sugar. This is a very meager amount, isn't it? I feel like this is made next to no batter. Now, here are the dates that I've already chopped and soaked in boiling water. So I'm just going to drain these. All right, I'm just going to chuck those in. This is the leftover liquid. It's quite sweet. You could basically just use this as a sugar replacement for something. Just going to mix this through. That's helped to loosen it up quite nicely. Then we're supposed to put the batter in a greased and floured 7-inch tin and bake in a moderate oven for 1 hour. So I'm still using the remnants of this Nuttalex here, so I'm just going to grease this dish and just add a pinch of flour and pour it in. This really smells so good already. I can't wait to eat this. Gosh, for such a ration busting recipe, like it really hasn't made much at all, has it? I mean, it's going to rise, but yeah, I'll be very interested to see how this one turns out. So I'm just gonna chuck it in the oven now. And because there are no eggs in this, I can safely lick the bowl. Oh yeah, that's good. So I'm just gonna do my dishes now and I'll see you back in an hour. So I've just pulled it out of the oven. I baked it at about 180 for 50 minutes. It did rise a little bit, but not as much as I was expecting. And I'm wondering if it's because of the addition of the extra water from when we soaked the dates. Nonetheless, it smells divine. It's quite a dainty little loaf. It's very moist on the inside. That definitely is because I soaked the dates, which is what I like. So let's give this a taste test. It smells so yummy. All right. That is absolutely lovely. I highly recommend that you give this a go. This definitely would have been such a treat when you were living on the ration. My problem is that I can easily see myself eating this entire thing within the next 48 hours. There's no way it's gonna make it beyond that, and I'm okay with that. It's soft and moist and not too sweet. Absolutely delicious. Now, while I certainly didn't invent baked bean pie, I did come up with my own very tasty version of it, which I'm quite proud of. And I got to turn the bad baked beans into something that I'm genuinely looking forward to eating each night. I'm the most smartest.
Most smartest?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. You're real educated, like. Most smartest. Get a picture of that. Most smartest.
Most smartest.
Come on, come on.
So we made 2 pies, and I suspect that we'll get 8 very decent sized servings from those 2 pies. So let's break down the costs. So the total cost of the 2 pies came to $13.15 or $1.64 per serving. Now, as you can see, once again, it's the fresh produce that's really driving up the cost of this. And all of these ingredients were purchased at Aldi, which is the cheapest supermarket closest to me. As for that dainty vinegar cake, that only cost me $2.05 to make. Worth every penny. It's so yummy. Definitely give that one a go if you haven't already. I don't know how many servings I'm going to get out of that. So the grand total of today's cook came to $15.20, which is not too bad considering we got 2 very tasty pies out of it and a delicious dessert. So thanks very much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. I hope you're all having a fabulous week so far, and until next time, keep calm and bake your baked beans in a baked bean pie.